Not every story ends with an answer. Some vanish mid-sentence, mid-step, mid-breath. This is True Crime Whispers, and tonight we'll whisper the story of Brandon Swanson, a young man who called his parents from the side of the road one quiet night, said he could see their house, and then was never seen again. Brandon Victor Swanson was 19 years old. Smart, independent, kind. He was studying wind energy at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, working part-time at a local food co-op, and living in Marshall, Minnesota. He was the kind of son who texted when he was on his way home, the kind of friend who made people laugh, and the kind of person who didn't cause worry. So when he vanished, it was as if the road itself had swallowed him. It was May 13th, 2008, a Tuesday. Brandon had just finished his last day of classes for the semester. That night, he decided to celebrate with friends, first in Lind, Minnesota, and later in nearby Canby. Both towns were small, quiet places. He didn't drink heavily. He didn't cause a scene. He said goodbye to his friends around midnight and got into his green Chevy Lumina to drive home. The distance between Canby and Marshall was around 30 miles. He had made the trip many times before, but somewhere along that road, something went wrong. At 1:54 a.m. on May 14th, Brandon called his parents, Brian and Annette. He sounded calm. He told them his car had gone into a ditch on a gravel road and he needed help. He said he wasn't hurt. He just couldn't get the car out. He thought he was near Lind, a small town roughly 7 miles from his family home. So his parents got in their car and drove out to find him. As they neared the area, they called him back. Brandon told them he could see lights in the distance, what he believed was the town of Lind. He even said he could see their car lights approaching. But Brian and Annette saw nothing. No car, no flashing lights. No Brandon. They flashed their headlights. He said he didn't see them. He flashed his. They didn't see anything either. That began a 47-minute phone call. Brandon remained on the line with his father. They tried to figure out where he was. He never sounded panicked, just frustrated, confused, and determined to get back home. At some point, he told his dad he would start walking toward the town of Lind. He was sure he was close, and if they just met him halfway, they could find each other. So he began walking alone in the dark. Brian stayed on the phone with him. They talked about random things, college, his plans for the summer. They cracked a few light jokes. And then, just before 2:30 a.m., Brandon said, "Oh, SHT." There was the sound of a stumble, movement, then silence. The line didn't disconnect, but Brandon stopped responding. Brian stayed on the call for several more minutes, calling his name over and over. But there was only the sound of night. Eventually, he hung up and tried calling back. Dozens of times. Each time it rang, but went to voicemail. They searched the area until dawn. They drove every gravel road near Lind. They yelled out of the car windows, but Brandon never appeared. At 6:30 a.m., they reported him missing to the local police. But the first officer told them Brandon had the right to go missing. He was an adult. Maybe he was hiding. Maybe he just needed time. His parents insisted this was not like him. He wouldn't have disappeared. Eventually, a search was launched. It took more than 24 hours to find his car. Not near Lind, but near Taunton, over 20 miles away from where Brandon had said he was. The car was found abandoned along the edge of a field. No damage. Keys gone. Doors closed. The area was rural and remote, long stretches of gravel road, farmland, and ditches. Nearby fields were searched. Dogs were brought in. Helicopters flew overhead. At one point, tracking dogs picked up Brandon's scent near the car. They followed it for nearly 3 miles through fields, alongside fences, near an abandoned farmhouse, and then to the edge of the Yellow Medicine River. The scent trail continued briefly on the other side. Then it stopped. Some believe Brandon may have tried to cross the river. Perhaps he slipped, was injured, or made it across and kept walking. But despite sonar scans, aerial sweeps, and hundreds of hours of foot searches, no trace was found. No shoes, no clothes, no wallet, no body, nothing. So what happened to Brandon Swanson? There are a few possibilities. The first is that he fell into the river or a ditch and died from injury or hypothermia. It was dark, rural, cold. He may have lost his footing or become disoriented, but no physical trace was ever found, not even his glasses. Another theory is that he encountered someone. Though unlikely in such a remote area, there's always a possibility he crossed paths with the wrong person, or was picked up by someone after the phone call ended. There's also the theory that Brandon experienced a medical emergency, perhaps a seizure, or sudden disorientation due to a head injury. But in every scenario, the same question returns. Where did he go? Brandon's case remains open. There have been no confirmed sightings, no pings from his phone, no activity on his bank cards. Nothing from that moment on has ever led investigators any closer. It's as though he vanished mid-step. What haunts so many people, including his parents, is how real-time this disappearance was. He wasn't days gone. He wasn't off the grid. He was on the phone, walking, talking, present. He said he could see their house. He was right down the road. And then he was gone. In the months after his disappearance, Brandon's parents turned their grief into action. They began pushing for a change in Minnesota law, something that would require police to respond immediately to missing adults under suspicious circumstances, even if no foul play was proven. In 2009, Brandon's law was signed. It ensures that families like the Swansons aren't told to wait it out. It allows searches to begin sooner, and it reminds law enforcement that not every adult disappearance is a choice. Sometimes they're a warning. Sometimes they're the beginning of something terrible. Brandon Swanson would be in his mid-30s now. His bedroom at home has remained mostly unchanged. His parents still live in the same house, still waiting for closure, still hoping for answers. They say they believe he's gone, but not forgotten, never forgotten, because some stories end without an ending, and all that's left is the whisper of a voice that said, "I'm just down the road," and then silence. The night keeps its secrets, but will keep whispering them, one story at a time. You've been listening to True Crime Whispers. Good night.